Well, hello everyone, and welcome to a new month. I'm Andy in the United Kingdom.
Hello, everyone. Thanks, Andy. It's great to start a new month with you as always. This is Scott coming to you from Toronto.
And this is the Tea and Timbits podcast, global perspectives on business development to help you prosper. As we go into the month of September, we are using the theme of the business new year, as come up with by Scott, which is good. And we have some great topics coming up this month. But what we're going to do to start with is focus on preparing for the fourth quarter. So that's what we're going to talk about today. But before we get into that, Scott, I believe you have a story for us.
I do. And remind me to sort of cue up why I call it the Business New Year. That's not
I
much to
will.
it, but we can get to that when we get into the episode. My story is related to getting ready for fourth quarter, but it is just more of a timing coincidence that this kind of popped up for me recently. And it is about something that I put more formality around recently, and that is building account growth plans. And previously, it had been kind of a conversation. It had been embedded in the sales plan. These are the accounts that we want to focus on. These are the accounts that are going to get a little bit more attention from us. Not that everybody doesn't get attention, but let's face reality here. There are some that you want to make sure you're paying particularly close attention to. And there were reasons for that, and that's kind of where we left it. And that would sort of be something to keep in the back of my mind and agree that, yep, that makes sense. And actually, I was talking to my wife about it, and she was explaining that she does these growth plans for her accounts, and I was like, wow, how have I never done that before? So I put a template together for. I wanted it to not to be a big exercise. I wanted it to be a single page. It turned into 2 pages in the template, and it was something that was meant to serve as a reference for the account directors who are managing these accounts to put a little bit more structure and intention behind the conversations that they were having with these clients anyway. So I didn't want it to be something that became another another task. I didn't want it to be something that required its own cadence or structure, but I did want it to happen with a little bit more intention. So obviously, there's a template, and there was a conversation, and there was an ask to put some time towards thinking about this that otherwise previously had not been spent. So it is an increase in attention and effort and resourcing, so to speak, but only in the process of thinking about the questions that are being asked inside this template. And so it was things like, what are the client's business goals? We work in digital, but it had nothing to do with digital. It had everything to do with what's the client trying to do for themselves right now? What are their goals and ambitions? What are some of the friction points that might be preventing them from doing that? And yeah, okay, fine. When you get further down in the template, it says, how does digital fit in with this? But it leads with where's the client trying to go, so that we can frame everything that we're doing around that. So it's a new part of our process. And it was immediately received with sort of positive feedback. The team is like, already starting to think about it, and I've already heard that, like, wow, it just makes the conversations that I have with my accounts on a weekly basis a little bit more meaningful, a little bit more purposeful. We're not going through the motions of project logistics as much as we are. It's also giving me a chance to just have the right mindset around why we're doing this and where it could be leading in the future. So
And you're sharing these with the clients as well, of
Okay,
course.
so
Uh,
not yet, but yes.
okay.
So I want to get the internal team in the habit and the routine, and I want to refine the template that we've come up with.
Mhm.
And then I have said to the team, absolutely let the client know that we build these, share them, make them a collaborative exercise. You could probably turn it into a billable hour instead of looking at it as an additional non-billable resource that you have to sort of find
Mm.
time for to hopefully get value out of later. Because if the client sees you putting this together, I bet a lot of them don't have a single one pager on their own goals and ambitions and frictions and hurdles and considerations for the next year. And some clients are going to find that incredibly useful, valuable, and really appreciate it. And some clients are going to be like, why are you poking into, I mean, those are the, obviously, we know, what kind of profile, but I can imagine it going one of two ways. Mostly a positive reception is what I would
Yeah.
expect.
Yeah, I think so.
So yes, the intention is to get to the point where this becomes part of an account management engagement and it is client facing. We're going to crawl, walk, run.
Sounds fantastic. It's an excellent plan, and yeah, let me know how it goes. So I look forward to revisiting this in a few weeks.
Yeah, indeed.
But today we are going to be talking about how to prepare for the fourth quarter, which is coming up rapidly on us. But before we do that as well, tell me, how did you come up with the title of the theme for September? The Business
The
New Year?
business new year. Well, maybe it's not the business new year, but we talk about the year in fiscal quarters.
Hmm.
And if you follow the calendar year for your fiscal, it lines up somewhat with different sort of holidays and seasons and whatnot, but somewhat arbitrarily, right? And so we get these Q1, Q3, Q4, and I think it's kind of like, what's the right word? It's like it's very corporate,
Hmm.
and um, and I like thinking about like personally, it's not a business thing. You turn from August to September and or around about this season. I know some places school's already gone back, but earlier in August. But you're transitioning out of summer holidays back into school. Even if you're not, dealing with kids and the school cycle, hopefully you've been enjoying the nice weather in the northern hemisphere in the summer and whatnot. And there's a bit of a mental shift that I think we all go through coming out of that and going into the fall, and then what is classically Q4, those last 3 months of the calendar year. And so I think we can kind of come out of it dragging our heels and whatnot, and that's fine. You can lament the nice days of summer, but I also think if you look at it as a fresh start, as a new year, it is this. I think more than any other moment aside from the actual new year in the calendar, it has a little bit more. It's more of a milestone in my perspective, and I like thinking mentally about breaking the year up into seasons of change, not the weather or whatnot, but other sort of things and it's tied to weather and it's tied to holidays and school cycles and things like that. So I like thinking about the start of September as a new year. And I like thinking about the fact that it is a great month that warms you up for what am I going to do to execute at sort of a high velocity with high performance for the last 3 months of the calendar year.
So September, you see more of a planning month rather than finishing Q3 because there's not much you can do there. But as a planning and development for the final, essentially 2.5 months of the year.
Well, I think you've got, and I think that's what we'll get into now. So now it's planning for Q4 was the topic for today, but I think that it is it's a very active month because I think you need to use the month to inject a bunch of energy to give yourself as much momentum going into October, November, and then December. As we know, I think it's sort of
Mm,
the curve of energy starts high and then sort of trails off
yeah.
from a business development perspective, anyway.
Yeah, very much so. Very much so. But as we get into the topic now, I mean, one of the things I wanted to sort of highlight is that Q4 is not just about finishing the year strong, it's about
Right.
preparing for the next year.
Yep.
So that was where I was thinking maybe you were going with the business new year perspective, is that, Q4 is less about finishing the year, it's more about starting the new one strong.
Yes. For sure. I think that that's also like these sort of
Equally true.
windows, these sliding timeframes allow us for that. So what do you do in the month of September as it comes to getting ready for um, the last the last few months of the year and beyond?
Yeah, I mean, one of the things I think you may recall when we first started talking years back was the concept of kickoffs
Yeah.
at key points in the years, and September is of course one of the perfect months for doing that, because I mean you've got that summer fatigue, that people have just relaxed and kind of switched off a little bit in June, July, August, and September to me is kind of like this crucial reset button to get
Hmm.
people back in that working mindset, get them back into thinking about how to really go back. And of course, if you've got kids, you've got that natural trigger because the children go back to school, and so there's sort of that separation that now the summer has ended, the children are back at school. But even if you don't, it is a noticeable change because the seasons are changing, everything is changing, and what that can do is that can actually bring people down rather than re-energize them, because things are getting
Yeah, yeah.
colder and darker, and it's wet outside and it's windy and it's not so much fun being around. So in order to mitigate that, I think it's very important that you do kickoffs, whether that is
Yeah,
a big
yeah.
standalone event, which is my preferred way of doing things, or if it's just in a more intentional leadership style, which gives that kickoff
Hmm.
mentality to people, re-energizes the teams. And I think just making sure that there's a fresh momentum, there's clarity on the purpose, there's clear goals, and there's a sense of excitement to
So
to close out the year, but also to start thinking further ahead and make sure that this time is really well used.
are those kickoffs with your clients or with the internal team to kind of get that
Yes,
energy?
yes,
Yeah,
to
okay,
both
both.
of those.
Okay.
So because it's a great way of re-engaging and having a purpose of reconnecting with the clients, having these kind of events and stuff. And I know you like to do events as well. It's a very, very good time to do that. And then internally, it's very important as well to have those sort of get-togethers, trainings,
Yeah.
offsite, the silly games and stuff, the team building things. It all works though. It
It
does all work,
does.
and
Yeah,
it's very
yeah.
valuable. And that it doesn't have to be jumping across hot coals or something silly like that. It can just be that you go and do some cooking in a nice environment
Sure.
together, or an outdoor kitchen or whatever. But whatever it is and whatever's relevant for your team, it's a good idea to do those sort of things. And I think as well, one thing that I also like to do
Yep.
is, what is it I called it? I came up with a really good name last year, and I was really happy with it. A talent checkpoint. That's right.
Oh, talent. Yeah.
So
Okay. Yeah.
it was like that. You're having a fresh look again internally. Who's thriving, who's coasting, who's misaligned, and kind of addressing those situations head on. Going, right, okay, things seems to have fallen off a little bit during the summer now,
Yeah.
or you've done really well during the summer now. How can we keep that going? How can
Right.
we keep the momentum going? What was it that worked? What was it that didn't work? And having those one-on-ones really is a valuable thing to do now this time of year, to keep that energy up and to identify gaps, and also plan for future hiring if necessary before the January rush.
Yeah. And so I really like that. When you started describing it, kickoffs, I kind of went like, that doesn't really fit, like you're in mid project stream or whatnot. So that's why I asked my question about sort of, do you do it with internal or external? Because I could imagine having like a Q4 kickoff. Like we're gonna kick off our start of the last 70 or 25% of the year. But I like the concept of having this moment of intention and this moment of excitement, this moment of um, uh, it's a bit of energy that you're injecting into it, some cheerleading, which is useful and helpful, and can help create prosperity and productivity. But with a client, maybe it's just not called a kickoff. Maybe it's
No,
called
it's never called a kickoff with the
yeah,
client, because I mean it's more about kind of accelerating those customer conversations at this time, because this is when they start doing the budgeting for next year. This is when they start allocating spend. And
yeah,
if you're there and you're positioning your organization for that, rather than waiting till November, January time,
yeah.
when it's going to be much harder for you to jump in on that, now's a really good time to do that. Remind them who you are, remind them what you're currently doing for them or what you are planning to do for them, and just make sure that you're part of those conversations and that you're having those strategic dialogues at that time.
I like that word accelerating. Like maybe it's something that doesn't have to happen just in September. Like
Mhm.
come up with a process for running quarterly accelerators.
Absolutely.
Every 3 months with key accounts or whatever. Let's have our accelerator meeting. It's a half hour. It's a check-in. It's a chance to look back at your growth plan and be like, are we on track? Do we need to adjust anything?
Yeah.
Where do you think the energy is right now? I'm probably giving away the whole template, but one of the key things in there was, where's the energy at? It's
Mm.
not just about business goals and objectives and friction and resources and whatnot. It's where's the energy? Where's the vibe? Are we dealing with people that are, very buttoned down and structured, or are we dealing with, you know, um, people who shoot from the hip and
Yeah.
have a lot of creative energy all the time anyway.
Yeah.
So having a chance to, I don't know, maybe anyway, I like the word accelerator. So
Yeah, no, and something you mentioned there is a very good point. That energy is really essential during this time as well, and people have obviously they mirror that leadership energy,
mhm.
and this comes back to what we've been talking about before: is the culture, an internal culture, and so on, and having a culture of accountability as well,
Yeah.
because if you finish strong, recognize those contributions that people are bringing, but you also reframe urgency as discipline, not chaos, right? So that's the key.
Wow.
It's so important that even though we are driving towards achieving a good end of year, and we're also trying to be focusing on the next year, we don't want the team to feel overwhelmed. We don't want people to feel,
Yeah.
oh, well, where should I be focusing my time? What should I be doing? That creates chaos. You want it to be very, very disciplined, but still maintain that sense of urgency. And I think, if you've got that good, strong leadership energy, people will follow that.
Reframe urgency as
Discipline.
discipline
Yeah.
and use it as an accountability, um, a chance to refocus accountability
Absolutely.
as well.
Absolutely. Yeah. Yeah.
Yeah. So we got accelerate your accountability. I'm trying to come up with some like name for this, like penultimate like moment that
Yeah,
reframes.
let's build a checklist, shall we? Let's put it out.
Absolutely.
Like a Q4 playbook.
Yeah, yeah, yeah. I love that. Gosh, these
We
little
can really start
things.
marketing it.
Wrap it up for us, Andy. I think this episode's been just packed with insights.
It really has. It really has. So if you're listening, now's the time to get your energy of your team back up there, build a big, strong finish for the end of the year, and also start thinking about next year already now. We will continue this theme throughout the month of September. But for now, if you want to find out anything else that we've been talking about, go back and listen to any of the older episodes. You can go to teaandtimbits.com, where you will find many ways to listen to lots of old episodes of ours. And if you want to get in touch, go to LinkedIn or send us a message on teaandtimbits.com, and we will happily ignore or respond depending on how nice you are.
Thanks, Andy.
Thank you.